I'm Neeta Ragoowansi, Global Co-Chair of Women in Music, President of Music Managers Forum US, and Executive Director of Folk Alliance International. We're very proud to present this wonderful panel on artist manager entrepreneurship. And I'm very excited that we have some amazing panelists here, expert managers, who are gonna dive into talking to us about their business, their growth strategy, some of the day-to-day stuff perhaps, all sorts of good things. And so I want to just dive right in. Let's start with introductions. Let's start here with Riley. Riley, tell us about you, your role, your management company, some of the artists you work with. Just give us a little bit background on you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Riley Moriarty. I am an artist manager at 360. We have offices in LA, New York, Miami, London, and Tokyo. My roster includes Mike Skinner in the Streets, the Zootons, and developing artist Angelica Garcia. What was the other question?
No, I mean, that's good, actually.
Okay,
Yeah, you're good.
That's it.
Do you want to do a sort of how long you've been in management?
Sure. I actually started in music as a tour manager and transitioned to day-to-day and now look after my own artists. I've been in the role of artist manager for 7 years now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Yes.
Jeanine, the fabulous Jeanine Mclean.
Yes.
Tell us about you.
So my name is Jeanine McLean-Williams, and I am the president and managing partner at MBK Entertainment, and I've been with MBK for 22 years. I'll say long years because it's been long years, but it's been very fulfilling. So we're the management company that discovered Alicia Keys and developed her into a superstar. We discovered the artist her, developed her into a superstar. Discovered another artist by the name of Elle Varner, again, turned her into a superstar. Hard work, but love it, very fulfilling. Also worked with K. Michelle, Tyrese Gibson, SWV, many others. And I really love what I do. Will continue to love it and continue to create more superstars, hopefully, if it's in the stars. In addition to that, also a film producer working currently on the documentary for SOBs, the world famous venue.
Oh, nice.
So that's something that is my personal passion at the moment. And I'm excited to be here.
Very nice. Welcome. Thank you for being here. And Liz Norris. Hello, Liz. Tell us about you.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Liz Norris. I'm the New York-based partner for an LA-based management company called Activist Artist Management. We have an office in addition to LA, in Nashville, Atlanta, and New York. We launched the company in 2018, so it's only 5 years old, but the majority of us have worked together for about 20 years. We had another management company prior to that split up in 2017. So I've been in management for a very long time. My role in the company is head of media strategy and brand strategy. But I wear many, many, many hats. A client list includes The Pretty Reckless, Young the Giant, Empire of the Sun, Dead & Company, who we co-manage with Irving Azoff and Steve Moyer. We're currently on tour for their final summer tour as we speak. Bobby Weir of the Grateful Dead is a solo artist. Dwight Yoakam, Brittany Spencer, the Lumineers, and Michael Franti.
Yeah.
And we do have a film and TV department as well. We manage actors, a lot of writers and directors as well. And we are about to announce an activist that we will start to manage in the coming weeks. We're very excited about that.
Wonderful. Nice. Thanks for being here. So let's dive in. Jeanine, let's talk about that relationship with the artist in the beginning. How do you choose each other? How does that work? How did that work for you?
Wow. Well, thankfully it worked out very well. But it is challenging. I mean, we are a company that really focuses on artists that have a very unique kind of thing, that je ne sais quoi, like that's something that you just feel is going to be special. Obviously, being able to sing very well is something that many people can do, but not many people can do that and then have a very strong musicianship, playing an instrument extremely well. And then the other side of it that's also kind of a, not everybody has the ability, is the ability to write a great song. So that's something that we, kind of look for, as a very keen ability for an artist to have, because that's kind of the trifecta. That's what gets you, I believe, to creating a superstar. It's also what gets you to profitability fairly quickly, because when you have an artist that, can write really well, even if their music is not ready, and I'll take her, for example, when we started working with her, she was 12. Who's listening to a 12-year-old's music? Nobody. But her ability to write was so exceptional that we were able to get her a publishing deal very early for a very high sum. So you're, you're kind of in a working towards a great happy place when you can get to profitability working with an artist very early. And then from there, once you feel that you're great to work together, you have to be sure that you set a lot of groundwork early on what the relationship is going to be and managing that relationship, which does shift later as they become superstars. We can talk about that at another panel. But in the beginning, you really have to lay the groundwork on how everything's going to work, so you have a nice, successful, trajectory.
Yeah. What does that laying that ground level? I mean, for you, what was that? What did that look like? Choose whichever artists. Was it about you were going to be very sort of business strategy minded? It was like, I'm here for that, to be the CEO of the artist company in a sense.
Yes, and that is definitely my role. I was telling Riley and Liz earlier, I love all of the artists that we work with. I love them. But me personally, I do present that I'm here for business. I have friends, what I'm saying, that are outside of, the artist. And, there's nothing wrong with being friends with the artist, but I've found that at times to be a bit detrimental, because that familiarity breeds a bit of contempt at times. Like it creates just a weird dynamic that doesn't work well for me personally. So I definitely come in. They kind of call me Mother May I, because it's very, motherly, but very, just business. Yeah. And especially for the females, I want them to realize that as a woman, you have to show that you're here for business.
Yes. Riley, choosing the artist, how do you feel? Like, do you have any of those, how do you source, choose, or feel that connection to want to work with someone?
Yeah, sure. I feel like for me personally, the music definitely is what drives me. Like I'll listen to a song of an artist, and whether it's someone that's been suggested for me to consider, or someone that's come on to my doorstep naturally, or I've stumbled upon them myself. But really, if the music is pulling me out of what I'm doing, so to the point where I'm like, God, I have to know more about this, that's going to lead me to talk to an artist and try to understand them better. And, from those conversations, it's going to help me consider, do we work together or not? Or do I try to pursue working with them, or vice versa?
Right.
Yeah.
Good. And Liz, did you want to comment, or should I go to that next?
I'll just trickle down on it. It's all about the music.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think we've ever signed someone we haven't seen live. That's also very important. And I think we were just talking in the green room, like, our company has taken on clients during any point in their career. We've taken on baby artists, developing artists, and we started working with the Grateful Dead in 2015. Like they had a 50-year career before we were on board. So we were sort of just shepherds on a timeline with them. So it's kind of interesting to compare.
Yeah. So this is an artist manager entrepreneurship. It's about your approach to business. How do you build your teams? Riley, did you want to? I know we were sort of talking about how to build your team. What does that look like for you?
Well, yeah, I think at least when I think about building teams, for me, I'm really lucky. I've been with the same team in the management sector for as long as I've been in management, and that's something that I didn't really help orchestrate. But are you asking about building artist teams?
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean,
it's both, isn't it? I mean, everyone
Yeah.
at the management company is sort of working for the artist. So
Right. I mean,
it's the team, it's the outside contractors, it's the inside team, right? The day-to-day all of it?
Like the most important thing is that everyone's got to want to work as hard as the person next to you, and that's like you got to be able to link your arms like in any direction and feel like, okay, they've got my back and I've got their back, and I'm gonna work incredibly hard, and this person next to me, I can trust that they're gonna work incredibly hard, and that goes for the artist as well. It's like we're not gonna take on an artist that's not gonna work as hard as I'm gonna work, and you can't do more than an artist can do, and so. It's with the building the teams around them, the label, the publicist, the publisher, whether they're going to get into something outside of music, maybe they need a modeling representative. There's, an agent, there's so many teams, and you want to make sure that every single person, again, it comes back to the music, right? Like they get the music, they get they understand the artist, they understand where this artist is going, and also they're people that you can recognize have the ability to grow with an artist. We have one client that, we also started working with her when she was really young. She was 17, and she's now on her third album cycle, and watching her develop as an artist and develop her not just her sound, but her persona in the public eye has really reflected how she's grown as an individual, as a human being behind the scenes. And it's super important to recognize working with artists that they're also people. And of course, they're going to change and grow just like you or I would change and grow. And so it's important that the teams that you surround them with are people who understand that and are able to support them and help connect the dots so that everything has a through line, and we're still as fans looking at an artist and going, yeah, that's the same artist and they're just growing.
Do any of you have artists that don't want to sign with a label or a publisher and go completely independent and have that? Yes.
Alan Stone. So we worked with him for a period of time. Oh my God, super talented guy, my Lord. And we saw the vision for where he is now. We saw that almost 10 years ago. He wasn't ready though. We were like, let's get the label deal. Let's, we were changing up the image, just everything. Literally, I swear to you, and I've sent him pictures, we're still in touch. I'm like, these are pictures we took 9 years ago, and look at your pictures now. He wasn't ready for the deal. He said, I want to still, do the get in a van with the guys and hit the clubs. And we're like, seriously, dude, there's no money there, but he didn't care. That's how he wanted to organically build his fan base. That's what he wanted to do. And he turned down every record deal that was presented to him. Yeah. Now, I will say, just in all honesty, he would call a few ladies and say, hey, about that record deal. You know what I'm saying? But he grew to that. Yeah. So
as a manager, you just looked at that and said, that's what my artist wants. That's what we're going to get. That's the path we're walking down.
Well, it led us to parting ways.
There you go.
It's what it is.
Yeah.
Still best of friends. I still, whenever I could utilize him, I let him, work on projects. And, if there's a touring opportunity, he's right in there because, he's still a great talent. But, yeah.
Because I know people look at it as financial freedom and freedom of IP, their copyrights, but there's a lot of work. And I would go, oh, as a manager, right, it's a little bit of a, wait a minute. Now all of a sudden you really are the CEO of the company and looking for outside investors or whatever, right, to build that plan. I'm going to shift all over the place. I'm looking at Liz and I want to shift to branding and media and just sort of talk about, you work with some established artists like Dead & Company, for example. What was their sort of strategy? What's sort of that approach and strategy that you've been looking at, either with them or any of the other amazing artists on your roster, around sort of the growth, the media strategy to get them from point A to point B?
I think the media strategy is everything has to be in lockstep. Radio, press, digital, DSPs, everything has to fire simultaneously. You can't just sort of pick one channel and think, oh, we're going to really focus on this month and something else 6 months from now. It's got to be coordinated across the board. Messaging has to be very consistent. The timing of messaging from what's going to this radio station, what's going to this, how the band is introduced on stage at a charity event, even, because everything's viral these days. So once something, we're very protective of the brand, because once something's on the internet, it's there forever. So we literally look at every single word and not just a press release, but a bio, a blurb, an introduction. I mean, across the board, you name it. And I think Dead and Company is an interesting case study. That band formed in 2015 with three of the original members of the Grateful Dead and John Mayer, and it was a month after a very large concert that the band also did called Fare Thee Well, two concerts that they did in celebration of the anniversary of the Grateful Dead. And some of the original members decided they were, that was it for them, but then Bob Weir was like, no, I'm not done. I'm not done. Like, what's my next chapter? And I think if you look at that band in particular, that brand, the brand of that band, it's pretty incredible. Like I said, we've only been involved since 2014. The 50 years of since the Grateful Dead started, the fans, the community is incredible, and I think it's almost unparalleled across any other band that I'm aware of to look at what's happening today and the numbers of people that are coming to these shows. But it was a challenge to announce that band after they had just done a concert called Fare Thee Well, and no one anticipated that we were going to be doing it. So it was like, oh, okay, this is tricky. How do we do this? And we did it carefully and respectfully to the fans. I think as important as the music is at all times, the fans are also just as important, to respect and treat the fans very, very respectfully and honestly.
I know, part of your artist brands are around mission-based causes and working through that. How do you choose or work with your artist and choosing what cause to work with? And, I'm sure a whole lot of folks come out to you, a lot of nonprofits.
Yeah, so when we formed our company, I mentioned a lot of us had worked together for 20 years. We sort of, restructured, rebranded, and launched this company in 2018. And we called it Activist Artist Management because at that time, I think we were all kind of feeling like, what are we doing with our lives? Like, there's climate change, there are all these problems. Like, what are we doing? And I realized like my colleagues, my business partners were also sort of thinking along those same lines. So when we formed this company, founding partner Bernie Cahill, who's in our LA office, he said, guys, if we just give like 5% of our Rolodex, our contacts, our efforts, like 5% to an activist, a cause, just something, it'll make a difference. Here we are working 24/7 on something. If we just and we kind of took that basic idea and just expanded on it. He came up with a name for the company and said, this isn't just a marketing ploy. We're going to do this. So if I look at all of our roster, everyone comes to this space differently. Like some artists are very outspoken. They're on the board of a nonprofit. Others are very quiet about it and don't want that to be what they're about. They'll contribute in a way anonymously. And then some of our clients are sort of somewhere in the middle. But what we've noticed is for an artist to become involved in a cause, it's genuine. It has to be authentic. It has to be something that they truly, truly care about. I give the example of the Lumineers on the album before last, with the album called 3, that came out on Dual Tone. It was basically every single song was written about addiction and how it affects several generations of the family. And when you put there was a music video made for every song on that album. When you put the music videos together, they came out of order, but once you put them together in order, it was a film that debuted at the Toronto International Film Festival. But it basically was a story of 3 generations of one family affected by addiction, and both of Wesley and Jeremiah from the Lumineers came to that space with very personal stories about addiction and how their families had been affected by it, and they were at that point in their lives ready to talk about it. So we did a partnership with Partnership to End Addiction, and it was a very personal cause. It wouldn't have worked if we sat in a boardroom and said, okay, we've got a checklist here. What's the charity going to be? And let's just pick one at random. It doesn't happen that way. So it has to be very
authentic.
Yeah,
it has to be what they believe in, of course. And sometimes, an artist doesn't necessarily know till it's presented to them.
That's true.
And all of a sudden it's like, so it's always worth, for a charity to come knocking on the door. But sifting through is kind of a thing. Jeanine, I know that, I worked over at Global Citizen, and I know that her worked the global citizen. I mean, Alicia Keys. I mean, how do you work with your artists on mission-based causes and choosing?
Definitely authentic. You mentioned Alicia. She created Keep a Child Alive. So she created that. It didn't exist. There was, of course, the idea of it, but she got involved and built it out, out of her passion. She had visited Africa. She saw, much of the, devastation that AIDS had taken on, many parts of the country. So many orphans that were created because of, losing both parents to AIDS. So it became very near and dear to her. So she created that, and oh my God, how many millions? Maybe 20, 30, well, no, way more than that. 50 million, I think, has been made. And then, they were able to supply antiviral drugs, etc. All right, so that's Keep a Child Alive with Alicia. Then for her passion is music in schools, because obviously being a musical prodigy and attending schools that did not have music programs, did not have instrumentation available to the students, she created a charity called Bring the Noise, that I named, by the way. So,
Nice.
but that's to bring music, instruments, pianos, guitars, whatever, into schools that do not have the budget to do it. So we literally would go out, raise funds, do different events. All the ticket sales would go towards buying instruments, so.
So you're actually
very
building nonprofits and foundations from the
Yep.
ground up, which is amazing. I love when I see that. Like, artist management is also working on that, which is
We're
a
helping
beautiful
build the
thing,
dream.
which folks don't
All
normally
encompassing.
think of when they think, oh, an artist manager. I'm like, oh, but they're actually building some amazing foundations, helping causes from the ground up. It's remarkable. So, yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a whole other business.
And Global Citizen is amazing, by the way. Every artist that we work with, we encourage them to get involved with Global Citizen.
Good. Love
the team
them.
there is amazing, and it's great causes.
Yeah, love them. Do you have your artists working on different causes? Is it still something batting through?
Yeah, I definitely feel like at least the artists that I work with, I know that something they're really conscious of is their diverse fan base, and so I don't have a lot of artists that are super public facing on their causes, and that is because they know their audience and they want to respect their audience, and they don't want to cause a rift with their fans. So on the cautious side of things, they like to be in the background, and I think that that's just a different. We're talking about different approaches. Someone who wants to be very loud and vocal about something versus someone who's happy to, pay it forward behind the scenes. And I definitely work with artists that are incredibly active, but it's not the thing that they're driving with.
So I'm going to switch gears a little bit back to our sort of business side of structuring deals. A deal comes in the door as a manager. How much do you get involved? What kind of deals? Where do you get involved? Where do you just throw it to someone else? And what does that look like? Do you throw it to a lawyer? Are you throwing it to an outside marketing agency? What have you? Can you just talk about some of the deals that come through? Any of you all can jump in.
Well, Riley, Nicole, you said you had some thoughts on that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's, like you said, there's so many different types of deals that can be done. You're working with, maybe it's like right now I'm in the middle of an artist that is signing to a modeling agency. And so that is like a very specific type of deal. But, traditionally a lot of artists are going to work with labels. So you're going to work on a label deal and what that looks like. And for me and the artists that I work with, they don't want to be in their deals. And our tactic as managers is we like to save the artist as much money as possible. So we're going to deal with all of the deal points with the other party in advance of getting the lawyers into place, where the lawyers are just going to formalize things and make sure that everything's been addressed. Anything that we've forgotten is being accounted for. But yeah, I think that it definitely varies on the type of deal. A publishing deal, for example, is going to be very different from a label deal, and the type of artist that you're working with is going to very much impact the approach that you're taking to that deal. With the streets, they're an established act, so we know that we have a lot of muscle on our side, and we know that we can ask for a lot more and we can push for a lot more and we can really be aggressive. Whereas with maybe one of your developing acts, you might want to still have that same aggressive approach, but making sure that you're coming from the point at where you're at that day, you know, and that's different when you're a developing act versus an established act.
Right. Do you get involved, Jeanine, in your...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
That's absolutely my space. I love to get involved. But yeah, so outside of bringing many of the deals to the table, on the branding side, on the publishing side, you know, we're very involved. But, you know, we also, you know, we're kind of, you know, been around for so long. Like, we know everybody. They're kind of like our friends. So we're like, hey, Jody, hey, you know, Walter Jones, hey, you know, Big John. So, you know, those are kind of... I wouldn't say like kind of predetermined, but they kind of know the kind of deals that we do. They already know, don't give us the, you know, the deal that we have to do 1,000 red slashes. So don't even give us that version. So we are jumping ahead to the version that's already almost ready to go. So that's on the publishing side. On the record label side, a lot of people don't really know that we're the record label as well. We were Alicia Keys' record label and her management company, and the same for her and Al Varner. So in that case, you have to have another legal team negotiating on their behalf because of the conflict. But, you know, then on the branding side, though, we have everybody involved, agents, lawyers. It's like everybody bring those deals in, and we're all just kind of digging through it and making sure it's the best deal for the artist.
Yeah. And so when you're trying to source out deals, do you find, and any of you can jump in on, are you sort of laying out a strategy that's like a 3-year plan, and these are the types of, like, we want X number of brands, we want this, that? I mean, are you really working through a roadmap of a business plan in a sense, or a strategic plan for a certain term? And if so, like, what does that look like? Are you laying out something, you know, in writing, or is it more, what's that growth strategy approach?
Well, I'll just quickly say, so we have an artist by the name of Neeta. She signed Rock Nation, so we're just a management company. I will say for her, if you look her up, she's got a unique beauty, so we automatically said she has to have a beauty deal. That's hands down. That has to happen.
Yeah.
When? Who knows? But it's definitely on the trajectory. You know, and for each artist, you do look at them. You look at what they like to do. What are their desires? Like, oh, this person loves to fish. So whatever it is, you know, that could be like a stretch, but whatever it is, you try to find something that relates to their passion, and that does go on the list of things to hope to accomplish.
Liz, do you sort of lay out that strategic plan?
Yeah, yes and no. I think yes, to the point where there's always a long-term strategy. I think managers are the person on an artist team that are thinking the furthest ahead. I think it's very important to think long-term. But it's not like we've got, you know, we set out a goal to be like, okay, by March we're going to have, you know, 6 partnership deals. Like it's more of a organic, authentic process, and every client is different. You know, we have a band that does cross over into the fashion, beauty, makeup, jewelry space. So like we're actively, you know, sourcing those deals for them, but that's not going to work for, you know, someone else on the roster. And back to one of your earlier questions about the team. I always think of managers being like the center of the bullseye or the quarterback of the team, where we have to know enough about everything to be able to hire the experts in PR and radio and brand partnerships and promoters and agents and business managers and lawyers. But we're always very involved. We're always very involved in the deal, sourcing the deal, like negotiating the deal. Very, very, very involved. Yeah.
Okay. I know in our last minutes here, I would love to just open up to questions. Does anyone here have any questions for our panelists? Yeah, Cassandra, and then we'll go to you. Go for it. Oh, microphone time. And I may ask some questions in between, but I thought let's go for it and see what interest is out here.
Checking. 1, 2. This is a mic check. Thank you very much.
She got a voice.
Awesome.
He does.
Yeah.
Hey. All right. My question is, if you start working with an artist who comes in the door to you with essentially like an established career, possibly even in multiple verticals, maybe as artist, a writer, in my case, like as a voiceover artist, how do you prioritize like leveraging the successes that artist has had and looking at like, okay, you've gotten it kind of here and that's cool, but like I see that it could go here. How do you decide to prioritize like which pathway you're leveraging first? Or do you just kind of dive in and like fire on all cylinders on all fronts at the same time?
I think something, I forgot which question it was earlier, but when I was addressing like media strategy, brand strategy, and how we are firing on all cylinders at all times. We don't think, oh, we're going to do a PR campaign now and then we'll get to DSPs in the summer. It's not. It's like everything all at once. And I think a good case study I could mention is a band called Young the Giant, who we started managing 6 months ago, and inherited an album campaign. The album had already been out, like, it was sort of living its cycle, and we inherited it, and we were able to put more life into it. And I think since by firing on all cylinders, by like simultaneously going after, radio, DSPs, marketing, PR, and we've increased their monthly listeners by over 1 million. And they're on tour right now, and they've sold 200,000 tickets for their summer tour, which is for them better than any previous tour. So it can be done, and I think it does vary, artist by artist, and depending on where you are and in your career. But I think it's sort of like, you got to get everyone together and do everything, think about everything at once, and sort of coordinate across all those lanes.
And are those metrics, the growth that you were talking about, are those metrics that like when you started working with them, you sat down as a team and said like, this is where we think we can take an artist on like what time frame? Or did it kind of just like happen as you went about?
We didn't set that as a goal. We just said, we know what our work is laid out for us. We know what we have to do. We know how to do it. Let's go for it. And fortunately it's going well.
Hey. Gentleman over here, yes.
Hey, what's going on? Hey, what's going on? My name is Nice. I'm an audio engineer. A very close associate of mine's has a manager, and kind of made me think about this question. When you meet like a new potential client, a lot of times they may already have some type of management, whether it be like a friend or just somebody just making sure that things are going in the right direction, just to get them to the point where you would be interested in managing them. But how does that work when you interact with that manager? Do you guys like partner up with that artist, or do you like take things from there? Are you very strict with like, okay, I don't partner with other managers, I just handle things on my own? How does that work when you collaborate with another entity with an artist?
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, so we've
Good
actually
question.
been in that situation many times. One with Tyrese Gibson. So Tyrese, we started working with him. You know him, obviously. So yeah. No, it was before that, way before that. But so he was working with a manager, and he wasn't really happy with where things were going. So he came to us, and ironically, he came to us. He's like, "All right, I left my record label. I'm gonna keep this manager, but now can you come with me and work with this other manager and create a project from scratch? Let's work together." So we sat down, we talked. We knew this other person, so we knew that we can get along. So a personality, compatibility has to be there. That's number one. You have to be able to, chop it up and talk and communicate. So we got in the room, we strategized, and to your point as well, we made a plan that we knew was going to supersede anything that he had ever done before. So we worked together, and this person being there, this person that had been with him for so long, was actually a really big bonus because they knew him. Mm-hmm. They could say, they can give us the nudge like, oh, well, he's sensitive about this or that. So we were able to kind of bypass some of those pitfalls. So we took this inexperienced person, and used their expertise for them knowing him personally, combined that with our expertise for creating superstars, and we got him his first number one hit. So it can happen, and it's something that happens very often, believe it or not.
Yeah. That's how I got in. That's how I got my start in management. I started, back in the day, years ago, started my own management company and just went for it. And I had a bunch of just, independent artists. And that's sort of what led me to working with the team that I've been with for 20 years. So I can speak to that from the manager side, that I was that person that had the band that started on my own by myself and got it to a certain point and then joined a team.
Well, and I think it just it happens so much where you're meeting an artist, whether they have like an existing appointed manager or they have somebody who's kind of acting as a manager, whether they're calling themselves that or not. It's, most artists that I've started working with have come with somebody who's been in that sort of role in their life and has been helping them in that sort of way. And whether that person kind of is like, thank God you're here and passes the baton, or is like, yeah, I still want to be an active part of that. As a manager, it's your job to help the artist feel supported and supported by the team that they're choosing to have around them. And that includes, if that person is staying in the picture.
I mean, the interesting part is for us lawyers, when we get then the deal of how do you actually split up commission or the payment structure ends up being a little bit interesting. Have you has it been that temporary time period where the artist is kind of paying two managers while you're working together?
You just split it.
You split it. Yeah.
It's down the middle.
I've seen it in various ways and had to do those deal structures. It's been interesting. Some negotiations. Are you good? Yeah. Another question out here that I saw? No? Yeah. Oh, anyone? No? Yeah, go for it. Otherwise, I'm diving into mine.
Great panel. Great to see an all-female panel. My question is around your role as a manager in educating and informing the artists about the industry that they're operating in. I'm an artist manager, and I find an increasing part of my time is spent educating my artist about, new trends and developments. Like right now, she wants to know absolutely everything about AI, how it's going to influence her digital marketing, how it's going to influence playlisting, how she can use it, how she can't, what she should be worried about. And I'm somebody who has always worked in digital in the music industry, so I naturally am a nerd and like to keep up to date with that stuff. But there is a slight kind of difference in where you should spend your time on the mentoring of an artist, that they understand the industry they're navigating in, and then also just managing their careers. I'm just wondering with, we all work in a music industry that changes month to month, and right now it feels like week to week. And I'm wondering how much of your time is required to do that. Whoever wants to take it.
What do you think, Riley?
That's a good question. I think it does very much depend on the artist and how much they want to know about things as they're changing. I definitely have one artist that's like geeks out about every new thing and wants to talk about it. That doesn't mean that he wants to get involved in those things, but he wants to understand them and understand how they impact him. And if he wants to dabble, and sometimes I'm seeing him, with like the AI thing, for example, he's getting really into it on like the personal side of things, but I haven't seen it yet come into his work, and how it might impact his work. But it's something that we'll like talk about regularly. Whereas, I have some other artists that are so focused on creation, that kind of anything that's happening outside of their own unique creation isn't even in the world that exists for them. Yeah.
I've seen that. Nothing exists outside of them.
Yeah.
But yes, but to your direct question, the mentorship and teaching anybody that you work with about the industry that they're in is very important. Like artists, they have to be in the meetings with the labels. They have to be in every meeting, every conversation. You never want them to turn around and say, "Oh, I didn't know." Well, they're going to say it anyway. Well, quite honestly, they're going to say they didn't know, even if they did know. But you need them to be in the room to learn, to grow, and to understand, to be a full and completely, knowledgeable professional, not just a get out there and sing. They're whole human beings. So yeah, they need to know everything.
Yeah. Were you about to? Oh. Go
You can
for
hear
it.
me?
Yes. Hi.
I just wanted to know that as managers or management companies, do you guys take referrals from labels when a label comes across an artist and you see their not just their music, their music and stuff, even their social media is really, really strong, but they don't have management, or the management that they have is kind of like not really up to par. And so one of the struggles I have is building resources of management so I can say, let me find out whether I have somebody to refer this artist to. Because the day-to-day management is a lot of work. And you're a label, you can't do it. But I just want to know, do y'all take referrals from labels when it comes to, they come across an artist, they go to a live show, and they say, this artist is really phenomenal, but they lack management.
I was just having that conversation with a few labels yesterday. It kept coming up that labels were like, yeah, oh, do you know some manager? I'm always being asked, but right, because they want to make those referrals out, or their artists are with a manager and they're just kind of looking to step to the next level. They've been doing well and they think they need, a company, a team that's just been built out. So yeah, how do you, if anyone wants to respond?
I'll let Liz get into it. Labels want to work with managers that win, period. They're going to always go to the winning managers and say, hey, I have somebody. That's an easy answer.
Because you have resources and connections in the industry, and you want to be able to have a strong management team to know what to do with those resources.
Absolutely.
When you start making referrals to, Jordan Glickson and all those people, do I have a management team that knows what to do and how to work with the label to make this stuff pop?
They do it all the time. And half the time we turn them down because if we don't share the vision, we don't take it on. But, if they're, sometimes, we do. But
So I was going to say, have you actually
we have, but
taken
half the time we don't.
artists on from a label referral? Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say the answer is yes. We're open to referrals. We receive referrals a lot. We don't sign that often. Like, I think we don't even take that many signing meetings. We don't poach artists if they have a manager. We don't go after them. But we've definitely been referred by the label, the lawyer, the agent, anyone that's on their team. We've received tips about artists, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Any more questions over here? No? So I have one thing, which is about future vision. What are you feeling is going to be this exciting thing happening in our state of our music industry that makes you go, yes, I can't wait, or I'm excited about this? Or is there something on the challenges side, future vision? I mean, we brought up AI for a moment, and, does that feel like it's a worry? Challenges or future vision, excitement, anything that you feel there?
I mean, I feel like the best ideas always come from the artist. And so it's hard to really, as a manager, go, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But when an artist brings like a fresh idea, which they do all the time, you can kind of spar and run with that. And that's what excites me the most, is when my artist has a new idea and it's something that ends up being a long runway to the next great idea.
Is there something that's just coming down the pike here that new releases even?
Yeah, I mean, I actually just produced my first film for an artist that I'm working with.
Wonderful.
And that has been a 7-year-long journey.
Which artist?
Mike Skinner, The Streets.
Very nice.
Yeah, so, and that's something that, again, we've been working on that for 7 years. So, and we just actually this weekend got our final edit of the film. So,
Yay.
Yeah.
Excellent excitement. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll say the exciting part is that fans are still in the discovery phase. I like that fans are out here looking for new artists to support. They're spending money on concerts. I mean, if they're buying Beyonce tickets and plus their people are spending money, so that's exciting. And the scary part is AI. Everyone is extremely afraid of AI. And I'll just give my 2 cents is that
Please.
for now with AI, of course, the label's like, oh, they're putting out AI. They're like, oh, this is a record that sounds like, I don't know, Justin Timberlake. Once you have songs that are coming out where you're not saying it sounds like Justin Timberlake. It's just a record coming out, and the fans just love it. It's loving it. It's kind of like, you know, an open door to hell, I think. You know what I'm saying? Because they're going to be, you know, obviously ripping off people's voices. But if you don't say it's their voice, you can't really be sued for it. I mean, you could say, oh, it sounds like, all right, well, I sound just like my sister. If my sister was sitting here, you wouldn't be able to tell us apart. But can you sue her for, you can't sue her for that. You know what I'm saying? So,
Well, we're working that out, right?
yeah,
We
I
are
know,
working
I know,
through the
I know. I'm talking to-
legislation and
I
what we
know,
can
I
do
know.
to
There's a lot going on. And
close
as
up loopholes.
a chapter, you know, as a governor of the Recording Academy, we're having a lot of conversations, you know, in my chapter. So, I don't know, it's just scary. I know it's going to turn out great, but it's scary.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Liz, anything?
I think in the near term future, I think we're seeing sort of a shift from relying on solely digital marketing to experiential marketing. And I think it's in due to two parts. One, it's post-pandemic. People wanted to do things in person. They want to experience things in person. And two, I think it's due to the just saturation of new music. I mean, there's thousands and thousands of new songs that are being, you know, how do you stand out? So I think we're seeing that trend going forward. And then we're also, you mentioned touring. You know, I think touring right now in this is due to being post-pandemic is saturated and more expensive. And I think challenges, definitely AI, and I think definitely touring being more expensive, at least for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. And then, dealing with those financial challenges. Yes, here we are. Well, thank you so very much. We are at time. Thank you so much for being here and for giving us your wonderful knowledge. So appreciated. And thank you all for being here. Take care.